Our mic is on. We are coming to you live and direct on dun da da April 10th, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome one, welcome all to Olivia's analysis. No, I'm totally joking. Well, I mean, I'm kind of joking, but I'm not actually joking. So, some highlights for today. We have figured out that Jesse Williams, sexy ass Jesse Williams, was paying like $100,000 in child and spousal support. He was being bled dry. We could have gone on a lot of dates for $100,000 a month, Jesse. I mean, we could have had. There are some really. We could have gone to Gyo Cocken. Let's just calculate this. We're going to do some math here. I wonder, how many meat specials could we have gotten for $100,000 a month? So we're $100,000. I would say we could just be extravagant here. $200 a night, right? So we could have gone to Gyeokokken 500 times. I can't even eat. There's only 30 days in a month, right? So we would have to go 16 times each. We could go to Gyeokokken 16 times every day for a whole month. There's not even that many hours. It's only open from 12 till 8. I mean, I've gone sometimes twice in a day. Jesse, we could have been doing big things for fucking $100,000. I live on a lot less, and I go a lot further. I don't know how some of y'all spend your money. I have questions, but we'll save that for another day. So I just watched Death on the Nile because, yes, your bitch has an HBO Max subscription. Now, for basically this entire year, I have outsourced this. Basically, I got friendly in the end of last year, and I shared the password to the HBO Max subscription. But as you all know, I'm way more interested in analyzing my own life and lived experiences, unpacking those in therapeutic terms, and realizing the real relationships that I have out in the world, because I am dissecting my own feelings in the feelings wheel. I have also created a new series. We're calling it the Habesha Exploration series, and in this series we have detailed Lud, Sunny, and Helen. Now Sunny seems very nice. She just seems like the very, very sweet pretty girl who just likes going out and being really pretty. Helen, on the other hand, is a little bit more spicy, and I made Helen's exploration into a horror film, so I feel like if she finds it, she might be kind of upset. Helen, girl, I love you. I thought it was so funny. And come on, it was creepy and villainous. It was great. I like it. Watch it for yourself. I don't know if they're your feelings. Let's get into Death of the Nile. So, wow. I actually didn't read the synopsis on the movie. I had no idea what this was about at all. But this spoiler, if you didn't want to know what the fuck this movie was about, I'm for sure gonna tell you. So if you're that person who's like, I don't want to hear about it, cut this off because I'm telling all the shit. So basically, this is a film about an heiress and her marriage or her engagement to a new man. This man's entanglement with another woman, his prior girlfriend, and everyone else around her who was interested in some ways about her money. So there's people who manage her money. There's the other family members who are kind of concerned because they're in the will. There is her ex-fiance who is just a part of the aristocracy. So this is basically just a whole exploration of class and all of the interpersonal relationships around class. And so the entire scenario basically unfolds as she is on her honeymoon in Egypt on the Nile River. It's beautiful. They're on this boat, and then people basically start dying. 3 people die. And there's a private investigator who the the wife invites on the trip because before they go on their honeymoon, the woman who was her friend before the engagement, basically this all starts because this really wealthy heiress, her friend who is like not wealthy, but they've known each other from school or something. Her friend asks her to basically give her fiance a job because he isn't working, and they want to get married. So what she's trying to do, she like wants to be a stay-at-home wife, so she needs her husband to get a job so that she can so that they can start a life, right? So she says like yes. She ends up dancing with the fiance, and they like fall in love on the dance floor, and then they get engaged. Now there's this whole narrative of the woman who he was engaged with before, who was like her friend, her being kind of this estranged stalker woman who's like following them around everywhere while because she just ends up like popping up places that they are, and then she actually ends up in Egypt on the same boating cruise that they're on the honeymoon. So that's kind of sketch, right? Anyway, so there are some things that I want to point out. I think this movie is useful to watch if you don't have an idea of how like class and wealth and inheritance and familial marriage kind of work. This is one of the other reasons why like I personally have never been interested in marriage. Like I've said this before, but a lot of the women in my family marry for money. That's just a thing. Another thing, like my mom kind of like had a lot of lessons. Like for me growing up, I had a lot of lessons around like why she didn't actually want to be in more like long-term relationships or marriages, because a lot of the times it was simply about like money, wealth, access, and almost dominance over the female body in a sense. Like a lot of men, because my mom's like 5'11", she's like a model as well. She's very, very slim, and it's just kind of like it's very like for any a beautiful woman, and I'm gonna say this regardless of race, it is very easy to attract men. They are going to come. They're always going to be there. Like getting a male is not the issue, but having one of substance and really there's other issues in life that come with like finding yourself, finding your purpose, kind of finding longevity in your life. Having a meaningful life can be a real struggle. I do like, there's a channel that I follow, Karine Allude, who follows a lot of the dames, like from the 20s, like Marilyn Monroe, a lot of others, and she unpacks like their lives and like things that they've gone through, like their stories. Very interesting. Like some of the stories I was familiar with, because I too am very into like the Dorothy Dandridge, like Marilyn Monroe's like classic beauties. I feel like I am a classic beauty, and I am interested in like black classic beauties. Like I think Lori Harvey might be one that we could follow. That's one who's of our time. I think that Chloe Bailey is she's like finding herself, and I really feel like if she takes some time away from stardom, like I think she's doing a great job. I think she's a great performer and everything, but I think she has the potential to be a classic beauty of our time. But I think she might have to like go have some life experiences, and I do feel like she's getting them. It seems like she's dating Gunna right now, which wherever he is in his life, like I did see that he was forming a relationship with LeBron James. I think that LeBron James is an excellent like male to just like for other males, especially like black males, to follow and like just have conversations with about kind of like modern day society and like navigating it. And so I saw that he had a conversation, that little barbershop conversation with him. I think that is going to be a very positive sort of like influence on Gunna and the way that he chooses to navigate his relationship with Chloe and navigate the world. This is something I saw where I always call them the bad and bougie rappers, because I honestly don't know their names. The only one I remember is like, okay, no, Offset and Quavo. Yes, Offset, Quavo, and whatever was happening with Sweetie. Like, I feel like Sweetie wants to be a classic beauty, but she just comes off very ratchet. It's just like I don't think she could ever be. She's like, And yeah, I'm not seeing it for Sweetie. Maybe though, maybe like she's trying to do like the short hair and the gown. It's not giving for me. I think like the only one we have right now, maybe Sierra. Actually, Sierra's doing a very and Kelly Rowland. Not that's not actually surprising. She's been beautiful for a while, but she's really like growing into this like dame that I saw her as a singer. You know, I definitely followed Kelly Rowland and her singing career. I think she's explored a lot of different topics. I think she's like an interesting person, a wonderful mother. But more recently, we've seen her transition just in her Instagram into like this like dame type of woman where she's just like beautiful and extra feminine and like she just exudes like femme fatale. It's giving it. I don't know what changed in 2022, but go Kelly. I'm rooting for her. I hope Chloe kind of take some time to find herself a little bit more. I think that Lori is probably the best embodiment we have right now of like a femme fatale. I think Kim, I don't know, Kim Kardashian could be, maybe no, Kim is definitely, she's femme fatale too. But I just feel like her history kind of like, well, I guess they've all had history. Yeah, Kim is a good example of a femme fatale too. She's very, very, very attractive, very feminine, very I don't know, I can't call her a classic beauty, but Kim has something going on where I think she's in her own lane of like beautiful. It's very hard, right? Because now it's like so many people are like buying Kim's face that now it's hard to like distinguish her from other women, and it's all getting kind of weird. So that's why it's very hard to be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I guess people did that with Marilyn too, where everyone was going blonde. All right, let's move on though. Let's go back to the movie Death on the Nile. So the big idea, so we're trying to figure out like how did all these people die? Who killed who? Why did everyone kill everyone? What's all going on? All right, so and here's another thing that's really interesting about this film. The story is complex. It's like everyone has some different shit going on. So you have the heiress, right? So the heiress gets killed in her sleep, and we don't know. We just see her in the bed with a bullet hole through her brain, and we're like, oh my god, she's dead. Then her fiance gets shot, but he doesn't die. He just gets shot in the leg. And then we've got this detective on board who's trying to figure out who killed her. We've got a necklace that's stolen. Then all of a sudden we get like this, the boat maiden, she's like thrown overboard and she's like found in the steering wheel. That was like kind of creepy. Like what the fuck does she have to do with this? And all of a sudden she's dead. So we're trying to put all these storylines together and figure out what's happening. So while they're on the boat, they actually get off the ship and they like go, see the pyramids for a moment. And then, when the heiress, this is before the heiress dies, so the heiress is like on the pyramid with her fiance, and they're all making out, and it's like really great. All of a sudden, like a rock falls and almost like smashes them to their death, and it's like, who the fuck would try to kill them, you know? And it's like you actually find out later like why someone didn't, and it's really all about like politics and money and trying to. So some people were like playing with her books. She also comes to the private investigator and lets him know, I don't feel comfortable around any of these people. I don't trust any of them. And she makes a claim. She's like, ever since, you know, it's really all about the money. She said that one girl who was her friend before she like stole her fiance, she was like, you were the only one who was here who was not for the money. And I think that's something that maybe a lot of people don't understand. Like, a lot of people can get really icky and can get really sticky around money. Like, people just kind of like flock to wealthy people because of like the dividends of that. And so they just think like, oh, okay, if I associate myself with this person who has privilege and access and money, then I will get it too, which sometimes is true. But I will say this, it's more of a sure shot to just like build your own shit and like work for yourself, because over time you will gain a skill, and that skill will be like enough for you to like basically pay for your cost of living. And just by doing that, you will live a quality life. Whereas in this case, you see the example of a lot of people who are trying to get over for one or more reasons. And in the end, people just end up dying. like the end, in the end, 5 people died in all and 2 died by suicide. So it was just kind of like, wow, like everyone did all of this stuff for money and wealth and stealing and lying and all of this betrayal, and it was just, the storyline got so complex. It was almost like this game of chess where it's like one person would say one thing or do one thing or make one move, and it would like change. Everyone else would start to like rearrange to like fit, and it really does end up being like that. Like everything has to be political. It's just kind of like, this doesn't even feel worth it. Why doesn't everyone just, just make their own wealth? Because in the same way that whoever has this business, and however this heiress inherited her money from the guy, like her family member who, had a business or whatever that did well, why don't they just build a business? Because in all the time that they were like doing all this deceitful shit, if they had that much skill to be like persuasive, they could have just like built a business or gained a skill. You know what I'm saying? Like you could have just had a job all the time that you did all this. Having a job, like I've said this once and I've said it, I'll say it again. Everyone wants to be in Hollywood, and I mean, I think it's great if you really have ambitions to like be an actress and star in films. If you have a literal fucking cell phone at this point, go film yourself on camera doing shit and make movies if that's what you want to do. If you want to be a Hollywood actress and be super famous and star and be beautiful, like, bro, you have a camera. Go out into the world, and like all of the pictures that I have, all of the content that I have, I film myself. There's no one taking my pictures for me. I literally use the camera. I put it on selfie mode, and then I use the timer function to like count 10 seconds, and then I get into place. I just put the camera on like a post that's on like a post outside, and I'll film myself just walking or something. Like anyone could do this. It's like not just me. Like if you wanted to, you could do this. Literally anyone could do this. It isn't just like, and that's all I'm saying. So I think that instead of like trying to like hop on someone else's bandwagon, I think it's useful to be inspired by other people, to consume other people's art. But in the end, just realize that your life is yours, and, if you want to be something, you're going to have to make your own mark. And I guess I'm trying to be an example of how I've actually been trying to do this for a while, and I have tons of content, from earlier in my career where I tried to do the same thing. It's just people like literally stole my content. So there's a whole bunch of footage of me out there in the world that other people own, that maybe I'm like a member on a dance team or a member of a group or in whatever fashion. The point is, like, I've been out here working. It's just other people stole the content, so now I don't have it in my portfolio. But still, I didn't just say like, oh darn, woe is me. Now it's just like, it's fine. Now I have my own YouTube channel where I can talk about the shit that I'm interested in talking about, and here I am. Boop. Like, I don't really like need them or anyone else to own my own content, because like, here is the platform. Here is me. So like sometimes shit happens, but man, like the deceit in this film, it stems deep. And I could make a whole map in terms of like what happened with who and who all the characters are. I feel like, well, you know what we could do? So we could pull up a character map. That's another thing that I think is interesting. So when you watch a film, if you go on Google, and so like we Google like death on the Nile, and then we go like, oh, they have an analysis, interviews, trailers, cast. Wow, this movie made quite a lot of money. It made $134 million. I think it's a wonderful film. So one character though I really appreciate is her name is Rosalie Otterbaum, played by Letitia Wright. And basically this character is the manager of a singer, and she went to so Rosalie, this character, she went to school with the heiress. The heiress is, oh, that was Gal Gadot? I didn't even realize that. So the heiress was Lynette. And so Lynette and Rosalie go to the same boarding school. And they didn't really have like a great relationship in the boarding school, but after the boarding school, they remained close in some sense. And so Leticia was the manager for like this singer, and so as you know, Lynette started to have more and more events. She basically hired Leticia to and this singer to come with them. So they hired them for the honeymoon and all of these other events. But it just so happens that Lynette's or Rosalie's like love interest is like Bach, who is so Bach is the son of this other like wealthy woman who's like an artist in the film. This other woman, her name is like Euphemia. Now, Euphemia and Lynette's parents both have the same amount of like wealth, like intergenerational wealth. And so Bach and Lynette grew up together. And so remember, like I said, Lynette and Rosalie went to school together. So Bach is basically in love with Rosalie, and Bach's mom, who is Euphemia, has an issue with Bach being in a relationship with Rosalie because she basically doesn't feel like anyone's good enough for her son. And then her son is basically trying to get, he's also an inheritant, so he's inherited money from his mother and is basically like living off of her at this point. And he's saying like, I'm ready to branch out and like go on my own. But like he also mentioned he's tried for a while to like get a job and get a career, and that didn't work out. Oh, woe is me. That's my fucking struggle too. It's really hard to exist in the world. And sometimes, I will say, I think this is another great example. There's a character played by Russell Brand, who was Dr. Ludwig. So they don't like touch on this, but I think I could do a whole character analysis of just Dr. Ludwig. So I haven't even touched on like what the aristocracy is, but the big idea here there are the upper echelon people in society. These are people who are like doctors, lawyers, software engineers at this point, heiresses, maybe like some entertainers. They just make quite a lot of money and have a lot of access, and they tend to like mingle and marry within each other, and so it's like a whole group. So this is like the new like aristocracy basically. It's a big thing in like Britain and like the UK in terms of like class. In America, like we kind of have it like you might consider it the like white collar, but even then, like I don't know if that's like a really good descriptor, because there are people who are like lawyers but they're not a part of the aristocracy. So it's I don't know, it gets kind of tricky. Anyway, so moving on. No, not moving on. We're gonna, so the point here is Ludwig. So Dr. Ludwig, he is a doctor, and he has this sort of personality where like basically he knew his whole life like he was going to be a physician or like be nothing, because his whole family, he comes from like a family of physicians, so like everybody's a doctor. That is very common. Like a lot of people who are or who have PhDs come from like a whole lot of family, like a line of people who have also been very, very highly educated. And there are other people who, you know, maybe the people in their family have no education at all. And so these lines just keep going like this. Like it's like all the educated people get more and more educated, and the people who don't have anything, they get less and less. It just goes like this, right? And then so people like Ludwig, he was basically like saying, he's like, I didn't like really try that hard. I knew I was going to be a doctor, and everyone else knew he was too. So he was just like a part of the aristocracy, which made it like logical for him to marry someone like Lynette, right, who was just like wealthy, because like wealthy people marry smart people, right? So it's like smart doctor with prestige and social status marries like heiress. That makes sense. That aligns. But this other guy, the guy that she actually ends up marrying, who is it Simon? Yeah, so it's Simon Doyle. He is actually a no one, so he doesn't have any education. He doesn't even have a job. And he has no status. He has no family wealth. He has nothing. He's actually just like an attractive guy. So, in the movie, there's, they talk about that, but that's typically the story of like a woman in this case. Like women can have nothing but just be beautiful and be like models or something, and then just marry people with status. But for men, that typically doesn't happen. Like they'd have to build something, like be an actor or something. Like Brad Pitt is a good example of that. Like he didn't, like he came from a very like lower middle class family, but then after becoming an actor, obviously now he has like all the status, and so he can date and mingle in terms of, and basically like transition through social classes. Whereas people like Zoe Kravitz, she was like born to two really, really famous people. So it was just kind of like whatever she did, she was going to like be famous, and she was going to like have shit. Which is kind of like actually most of the people in Hollywood that you see right now are just like the kids of other famous people. It just, and when you grow up with that much access, it's just kind of like you have a lot. But I do think like other people like Yara Shahidi is a good example here. Malia Obama now being a writer on what is his name? The Atlanta writer. I know this guy's name, but it's just escaping me. Being a writer on his show, being a writer is like a very common job. It's a very white collar job. Like a journalist, writer. Those are like pretty white collar jobs. I do think a lot of people are just kind of choosing to live kind of more like basic lives. Like you don't have to be some international like superstar. You don't have to, just have pedigree or nepotism to like get you to where you want to be. But what I'm saying is this film unpacks kind of a lot of that. Like I'm already very familiar with the story, and when I saw the image of the film, it gave me like 1920s old Hollywood femme fatale. Like I said before, I'm very into that, so just that in itself was like intriguing for me, and the reason why I went to see the film. So I would encourage you to watch it for yourself, and maybe if I have more time at a later time, I'll edit this video and include links or something. But you should watch Death on the Nile. It was good.